Jermaine Galloway with Tall Cop Says Stop. Welcome back. Let's talk about now our cannabis trends. Cheap, easy to get, and flavored. That drives youth drug trends. We can take out the flavored and we still see it with kids, but you want to talk about something that really drives it? Cheap, easy to get, flavored drives youth drug trends. So today I'm talking about cannabis. Undoubtedly, I'm going to have people who watch this that have smoked some cannabis, that used cannabis in high school or in college and used some of these forms that I'm showing you right here. Look at it like this. Depending on when you used, the form of cannabis you used was like a light beer, and the form of cannabis your kids are using is like a high proof spirit, distilled spirits, what I mean. Just because it's the same name doesn't mean it's the same drug, parents. I have parents who say, well, I did the same thing, and I cut them off. I go, no, you didn't. You did the same name. You didn't do the same drug. So left to right, dab wax, that's a concentrated form of cannabis. Generally ends up, from what I see, 50, 60% THC and higher. Herbal weed, that's what you remember back at the university days or back in high school. Started as 3% THC, 3 in the 60s. Today it's about 26% to 30%, somewhere in there, THC. Oil in the vape cartridge is going to be very similar to a dab wax. That's going to be pushing that 60, 70, 80%. Now, again, these are estimations. It could be lower, it could be higher, but you get the point. And on the far right, you see shatter. That tends to be about 60, 70, 80 or higher THC. So all of this is cannabis. I want you to get a good look because cannabis looks a little different. The left comes from a house, the middle comes from a dispensary, and the other two are dispensaries also. So when you guys see stuff like this in the window, we are selling products that are labeled and marketed as hemp that actually do contain THC. If it's under 0.3%, 0.3, not 3, 0.3% THC, it's considered hemp, okay? Why is this relevant? Because when you take those products and you put them in a vape pen, the dab waxes and oils, they can be very hard to detect. So do vapes have an odor? Yes, every vape pen carries an odor, but will you smell that odor? Maybe not. Depends on what they're smoking or vaping or what's actually in there. So the nicotine versus cannabis versus high level or versus low level, what have you. Now, why am I highlighting so much with vapes again? Because it's funny, we've talked vapes through two or three of these webinars already. And the reason is because they're tied into the drug world in every direction. They really are. They've become one of the main distribution points. We're not even talking nicotine today. We're talking dab pens. What makes a vape pen a dab, D-A-B, pen? When you put dabs in it. So yeah, it can be sold and marketed as one, but also it can not be sold and marketed as one, but if it works for dabs, it's a dab pen, okay? So vapes make it easy to be mobile and discreet. You take it out of your pocket, hit, you put it right back, quick and easy. That's what vapes allow you to do, is be mobile and discreet. And that's not good when you talk drugs or when you talk kids or when you talk availability. None of that is good. So I want you to read this trend shift, and this is it in a nutshell. We first saw, let's say, give you estimation, nicotine vaping, cannabis vaping. It's starting to go like this. And in certain schools, it's starting to go like this, where it is shifted to cannabis. As you read right here, we're starting to see it where they are just taking cannabis vapes. Why is that? It was a transition we saw coming. It's going to be stronger. And they all come in basically the same types of devices. They look different. I'll tell you, cannabis is more like an oil where nicotine's more like water. So you turn it upside down, right? You see my water bottle sitting here? Nicotine tends to move, I'm trying not to spill this on my laptop. Nicotine tends to move more like water, where cannabis moves more like oil. It just moves slower. It's thicker. It's like a snail moving, super slow. Also, when you look at your cannabis, you see how that oil looks thicker. You can see my water here, but you look at that, you see how it looks just thicker, harder to see through, right? But look at what they were using here too. Your THC content, they also use propane and butane. Parents, that's a talking point for you. Some of these forms of cannabis are being extracted using things like propane and butane. And there are so many different forms of cannabis out there. In a nutshell, when you smoked a joint in college or high school, you're smoking Delta 9 THC. Look at some of these others. THCH, Delta 11, THCJD. Some of those are synthetics. Some of those are made in labs. Some of these are lab-made chemically altered substances. You see something like this taken from a school in Texas, turned out to be cannabis. You see something like this, which comes out of a dispensary. I took this photo in a dispensary. You see that there, it's cannabis. And this is even from law enforcement on a traffic stop out on the West Coast, okay, where most of these are cannabis. So you get the point where there's a lot of moving parts here. And what is in a vape can be almost impossible to identify. What can be in a vape can be almost impossible to identify. So one of the things you can do is continue to follow me. I put out a lot of information there for you. But if you don't know, call law enforcement. If you're afraid to call law enforcement because you don't want your child getting in trouble, call someone for help. What you don't want is for your child to fall in the world of addiction because you were afraid of some consequences now. None of us want our kids to get in trouble. Most law enforcement agencies, especially if a parent calls, I can't speak for them, but they are there to help you and they will help get you resources. They're not there just to get your child in trouble. So we have to lean out to others for help. If it's not your expertise, you got to reach out to other people for help. Okay, that's your counselor, a school counselor, private counselor, law enforcement. Call anonymously and talk to an officer, talk to the school resource officer if they have one, but get the help they need. The more we can address now, the less work we have to do later.